you want 30 days filled with kettlebell workouts for free? Check the first link in the description. All right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, another episode from the Kettle Nights podcast. I have with me Yani Kokozaki. Is that right?
Yeah, it is right.
Can you tell me how to pronounce your name?
It's Yani Kokozaki. It's a Greek name. It's not
It's
Lebanese.
a Greek name. It's a Greek name. Fascinating.
Originally Greek.
Oh, that's fascinating. So we're already getting to know Yani. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why I have him on the podcast is he is, like many people that I had on a podcast, kind of revolutionary people who decided to bring the kettlebell into their country. So Yani is the first person who brought kettlebells to Lebanon. So yes. I am so interested in hearing your story, Yani. And matter of fact, why not just get started with your story and give us your background?
Yeah. First of all, my name doesn't sound Lebanese because I'm originally Greek, but I was born and raised in Lebanon. And I speak Arabic, English, and French. So that's it. How I started kettlebell training. At first, I was doing Thai boxing. And that was back in 2007 or 2008, I think. I know we were doing, the traditional training in martial arts, push-ups, jumps, pull-up bar if you have. But I thought it's not wrong. It's very good, but it's not enough. So I needed something more. So I went online and I was searching on YouTube. Back then, Facebook and it wasn't like social media was not like
that was way different. No, it was way different. Yeah.
It was way different. Yeah. So I went on YouTube searching for how to train for Thai boxing, and I saw some of the professional people doing other stuff like Olympic lifting, like battling ropes, and then I saw kettlebells. I was like, wow, what is this thing? Like, I want to train like before. We used to know only about two things. If you go to the gym, you only know about aerobic classes and bodybuilding.
Exactly.
Which is not wrong, but it's not what I like. It's not how I want to train. I want to train differently. And this is not going to do anything to develop my martial arts skills. So first of all, I went in Lebanon. I went searching for people who teach kettlebells. No one knew what a kettlebell was. And then, and then in 2010, I was studying personal training and I was asking my teachers at the university about kettlebells. No one knew what a kettlebell was.
Even your teachers, the professors, they were like, I don't know, man.
No. Now, for example, you can know everything that, for example, if a fitness trend starts today, because of social media, everyone in the world knows. But back then, it wasn't the same. Yeah, and so I was searching for workshops. And then I saw that the workshops back then were happening in Europe. But I thought if I go to Europe, okay, I train, I get a certification, I come back to Lebanon, no kettlebells. So there's no reason to go and pay for a certification, and then I come back and I can't train. And there was no workshop, nothing in the Middle East. It was easier for me to go to the Middle East than to go to Europe. So there was a friend of mine who's Russian, and he was in China, and he had a scholarship. So I asked him about kettlebells. That was in between 2009 and 2010. Because back then, if you follow some people, you would think that kettlebells, it's like Kung Fu, for example. Back then, it was like all Chinese practice Kung Fu, but it's not the case. So it was the same. Yeah, it was the same.
With the Russians, yeah. All Russians practice with kettlebells, yeah.
Yeah, but Russians don't know what kettlebells were. So I asked this guy, man, I was so sure that he knew about kettlebells. About these kettlebells, who I can train with, who stop. What is a kettlebell? And it's Russian, you should know about it,
You're supposed to know.
Yeah,
I love
you're
this.
Russian.
Yeah, you're Russian. Who are you?
Yeah, you should lose your passport if you don't know what a kettlebell is, you know?
Exactly. Indicted from the country. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
he told me he didn't know what a kettlebell is. So
mm.
I sent a picture. He said, yeah, I know these at the gym in China. I
In
see
China.
these.
Wow.
Yeah. But he said, like, we barely use them. Like, I don't see lots of people using them.
Mm-hmm.
I asked them if he knows someone, if he can ask the gym owner or any trainer there, if they know anyone who trains kettlebells, who can give me a certification, or if I do personal training or whatever, I
Mm-hmm.
just want to train with
Mm-hmm.
kettlebells.
Mm-hmm.
He said he'll ask, and then he got back to me and said, yes, the owner of this gym gives certification. He's done RKC. He's originally Romanian.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
back then it was RKC, not SFT.
Yeah. Most definitely.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So, and he gave me his contact. I wrote him an email, and he sent me an email back, and I told him, okay, I want to train with you, but if you also can help me buy kettlebells and ship them to Lebanon. He said, yes, I can help you with this too. So this is how it all started. But before I went to China, I thought I didn't want to go knowing nothing. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to train with anything similar to kettlebells.
Mm-hmm.
And back then I was working at the port of Beirut. And then I got an idea of swinging those big logs that they use for chains, for big chains. Like it's a log, it's a 30 kilos log. So I started swinging these things and pressing them before
Yes.
before I lifted
To
kettlebell.
prep yourself. I love this, man.
Yeah.
Using whatever means necessary to prepare
Yeah.
yourself. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the spirit. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I went to China, like I had an idea, like doing Turkish get-ups, doing the presses, squats, snatches. I couldn't do with this thing because the handle was this thick, you know, I can't snatch it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
and the first time I saw kettlebell, I was like, wow, what is this? I love these things. And I started, like, no one was even close at the station where kettlebells were, you know. Everyone was using machines. I was
Yeah,
like,
normal. Yeah.
looking at the
It
Chinese
didn't.
people there, like,
Yeah.
man, you have this treasure here and you're using machines.
Yeah.
Like,
And they're like, we don't even know what this is. We don't even use it. And
how
you're
to
here
use it? Yeah.
thousands of miles away. We're like if I had the chance, I would train with them every day. Yeah.
Yeah. I even saw clubbers there.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Wow. That's
yeah.
2009, right? So that's
That
yeah.
2010.
2010. Okay. Yeah.
2010.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Summer 2010. Yeah.
So you had to really just to get this right. You started training, or you were looking for kettlebells because of your martial arts background, right?
Yeah.
And
I was looking for a way to train, and then I found kettlebells.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
It's
And
something I haven't seen before.
and that's what I'm always trying to find out, because you're not the first person. So many people have mentioned this. I mean, even back in the RKC days, their feedback was that the martial arts world loves the kettlebell. And on this podcast, I have experienced the same or a similar situation, that many people who I've had on, they said, I have a martial arts background. So what I always try to find out is, and that's why I'm asking this question, is what was it exactly that you saw in the kettlebell? You didn't train with it. You just saw it on YouTube or whatever have you. What was it that you thought, wow, this is awesome?
I saw there was a guy called a famous Thai boxer called Tyrone Spong, if you know him. Tyrone Spong. He's a professional. He's a very good fighter, and I liked how this guy fights. Every fighter has how do we say, like, a role model. And then you start not stealing, but like doing techniques.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you do what works. Yeah.
You do what works, and you try to play, like, to imitate him. So and I saw, like, this guy put many training videos on YouTube about his conditioning. Not everyone posts that. Yeah, so he used to train with a hammer. He used to train with cable machines, with kettlebells, with lots of stuff. And then I thought, so if it's working for him, it should work for me. And back then also, I was studying personal training, and we were studying the science of sports. And there was nothing. Like, you can use dumbbells, but it's not the same. You can do dumbbell snatches, dumbbell swings, presses, but it's not the same, and it's not as versatile as kettlebells because of like they're hard to use. It's not really fun, but with kettlebells it can be fun.
So let's stick to the topic. What do you think makes the kettlebell such a unique tool in your perspective, not just for sports performance, but also for general GPP, general physical preparation, just for general fitness?
Yeah, because with kettlebells, you can do fitness. Like if you practice a sport, you can do conditioning with a kettlebell. And you can do giveaway sport, and you can do juggling, which is fun. You know, it's fun to juggle. So, and you can do these three things in the same workout. And you can do a whole workout while just standing. You don't need the whole space. You don't need a gym. You need just one. Like if you have I have this saying, if you have a kettlebell, you have a gym. You can do you can do a whole workout, work all your body, and then call it a training. So this is what I like about kettlebells.
Awesome. So let's jump back to your story. So then you went to China, obviously, and then what happened?
And then I went there. I trained with this guy. His name was Alex Maizescu.
Alex Maizescu. So a Romanian in China is certifying a Greek from Lebanon, right?
Lebanon.
I love how, and you got connected to this Romanian dude in China through a Russian. I love these stories, man. How everything's connected somehow, man.
all the United Nations help.
Yeah, it's the United Nations of kettlebells, exactly. Oh, I love this. So then you got certified, yes, and then?
Yeah, and then I bought the kettlebells and I shipped them to Lebanon. So back then I was working at the port. So and I was like, how to say it? I was responsible for placing the containers. So I knew which container my kettlebells were in, you know, and I put the container in a good place so the next day they can easily reach it.
Love this. Yes. So some advantage right there. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I went there to the warehouse and I saw how they're handling. I made sure they were handling them
properly with care.
With care, you know.
Yeah. Don't throw that stuff around, guys. Yes. Great. So wow. So and in that certification process, how was it for you? Did you really master the art of kettlebell training? That was it like a defining moment, or was it just a moment where it's like, yeah, I got started, but then I did my own research and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I did my own research. I bought some books and some videos online, and I needed to practice. So when I got these kettlebells, I put them in the dining room, and my mom was not that happy. I turned the dining room to a gym, you know. And then I started training on my own. But when you start teaching, this is where you learn the most. So I started teaching my mom, my brother, my neighbors, my friends, and so on and on. And then I gave my first workshop in 2012.
Awesome.
But before that, in 2011, after I came back from China, I left the port. After a couple of months, I think 5 or 6 months, I left the port because I thought, like, I don't want to continue at this job, steady job from 9 to 5. It's shifts. Sometimes you work, like I had to work for 1 year, I had to work for night shift from 11 p.m. to 7 p.m. until I left. I got my personal training certification. I got back from China. I was certified with kettlebells too, and then I left the port. I left to live in the mountains. There was a gym there. It was a whole resort, and I became a gym manager, but there was no one there. So I was like doing
On your own. On your own,
I
yeah.
got the kettlebell because like it's cold up there,
Yeah.
and people don't train, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I was just training. It was a nice break. I was just training all the time and
Great.
barely working. Like there was nothing to work. And then I was posting on Facebook. There was no Instagram back then. That was in 2011.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I know someone from a local TV station saw me and they called me and they started going there every week to take videos of me training.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but then I got bored because like they want to feed their audience. They didn't want me to give what I want, you know?
Yeah, that's how they operate. Yeah.
Yeah, this is how they operate. But it was, at the beginning, it was fun, but then I was like, you're wasting my time. I was not getting I was not getting paid. I was like, it was just, okay, I'm going on TV. Like, it's nothing. So, and then after a year, I came back to Beirut and I started working at a commercial gym. So when I went there, they had two kettlebells, one 12 kilos and one 16 kilos. I was surprised to see kettlebells.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. In Beirut, right?
Yeah. I was.
And what kind of kettlebells?
They had the cast iron and coated with rubber.
Ah, okay. Some solid kettlebells in that regard.
Yeah.
Oh,
cool. The ones I got from China were cast iron. I got from 4 kilos to 40 kilos.
Wow. Yeah.
And then I saw that there was no kettlebells in Lebanon, and people started asking me. So I started making them in Lebanon. Yeah, okay. I went to this guy, to a blacksmith, and he started making them for me, and I started selling them.
Wow.
But after a while, kettlebells got a bit famous, and then there were big companies started importing kettlebells from China. I couldn't compete with them.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so I just, as I'm still doing, giving workshops.
And your current profession is now as a coach. You're now working full time as a coach.
Yeah, I have my own studio. I started it in 2016.
Same like me.
2016.
Yeah, I started in September 2016. That's when I opened up my own gym.
Cool.
Awesome. So you really, what is fascinating is that you have this same, like we mentioned before we started the podcast, I mentioned this to you. You have this very similar route, like Geronimo Milo, who was a friend of mine from Argentina, who had a similar situation like you. He was discovering kettlebells, but what he said was interesting. He said it was almost impossible to import them because the system, I don't know if he mentioned the word corrupt, but he mentioned the port system was so stupid with the customs that it's almost impossible to import stuff into Argentina. So that's the reason why he was looking for a foundry and then started producing kettlebells on his own as well. So you went you went these great distances for the kettlebell. So you really discovered, yes, that they have some value to offer.
Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, what you learned in China was the typical RKC hard style stuff.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Girvoy. So how did that come about? How do you find out about Girvoy, and what do you make of these styles?
Yeah. In 2012, you know Steve Kettle.
Yeah, of course.
IKFF.
My sensei. Yeah.
I'm master trainer with IKFF, master trainer level 1.
Aha, here we go. So we're almost brothers in that regard, because Steve Carter certified Angie and me too.
You're a master trainer too?
Yeah, we were talking about me becoming a master trainer, but I never followed through because I focused on other things. But
Sure.
I get frequently requests about the IKFF, and then I'm always like, "Oh man, I can help you," but then you have to get and most of them now get. I don't know how it is today in your case, but many of them now get certified with Steve directly via Zoom online, right? Yeah,
yeah. Last week I had a call with him.
Cool. So he went to Lebanon and
no. I think I was like checking his website, IKFF website, and I saw that he was coming to UAE, to Dubai. Yeah, to give a workshop. So I was so happy. UAE is close to Lebanon, but on the website they posted that they were teaching the same exercises like RKC and much more.
Interesting.
Yeah. But when I went to Ras Al Khaimah in UAE, when I went there, like we only learned a couple of exercises, like okay, clean and swing and jerk and snatch, and that was it. But it was different from what I learned. You know, it was very different. Like it was smooth. It was like it was like it was so different, and I loved it. So this is like I learned giveaway sport accidentally. You know,
and that was Steve, right? Steve was teaching you there. Okay.
Yes, okay. I went there in 2013 and 2014. He came to give level 1 and level 2 in 2014.
So, and I imagine, I mean, you have this experience with Steve, and how was it? Because I consider Steve a hybrid. I always use this term because I think he knows how to work or use exercises that require high tension, where you, for example, a Turkish get up, a strict press, a squat, all these particular, let's say, hard style exercises that the giveaway sport guys don't do. But he also knows the giveaway type ballistics, the clean and jerk, the snatch, and the long cycle and that stuff. So how was that experience for you? Was it because it's different, right?
Yeah, it's very different. First of all, I had Steve's videos. Like there were some videos he did with this called Panther Production, Panther something. They do videos about sports and they sell them. So I got a couple of videos. He was like doing some not even RKC, like some stuff for martial arts and some and like walking while pressing, doing lunges and stuff that I haven't seen before, and I loved these things. And one time he introduced, I think, Valery Fedorenko
in that video.
Yeah, in one of the videos, he got Valery Fedorenko to show some giveaway sport stuff. Yeah, and then like when I was there, I wasn't expecting that we were gonna do hundreds of snatches and hundreds of cleans.
These are my abs, right? Like, are you crazy?
Everyone's hands like were like blood. I had red hands, like, and that was we had 2 days. And that was from the first day I got there, and I was thinking, like, how am I gonna
Me too. I was like, how am I gonna train now with my bloody hands?
Yeah, how does he expect me to continue the next day another 6 hours of snatches and swing?
Same. Yeah. So you made that experience with Steve, right? And then what's your take now? I mean, you have now been training with kettlebells for a long time now.
Yeah.
And what I always want to ask is, since you have been exposed to both styles, both ideas, what do you make of it? And let me preface this. I have now seen both worlds, and I have come to the conclusion that I'm abandoning this idea of there being styles in the first place. There are either ballistic exercises where you go for high volume, All there are grinds where you have to use high tension. For example, a 40 kg get up. And just funny thing, I just recently did a video where Ivan Denisov, a kettlebell sport world champion, doesn't know how to do a Turkish get up. Then I have another video where I was critiquing the clean and jerk from the hardstyle guys, because this is not actually how you do a clean and jerk. So what is your take between these styles and between these worlds? And yeah, that's just what I want to know.
Yeah, like for example, now I'm doing something a bit different that I didn't learn, not from Give or Sport, not from RKC. It's an Olympic lifting program, and I'm trying to do the same thing with kettlebells. So it's different. It's even different technique, like to do a clean from the floor. Like you're not like from hand. You're not doing it from swing. You know, you're doing heavy cleans, and then I'm trying to squat under it, and then
Immediately
stand up.
squat.
Yeah, imitating Olympic lifting. It's tough. It's a bit tough, and it's different. It's very different, and like you need mobility for you need a lot of mobility for Olympic lifting. If you're doing the same thing with kettlebells, you need even more mobility in your shoulders.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is what I'm working on now. But to say the like I practice both. Sometimes I practice Give or Sport. Sometimes I practice RKC. But when I'm doing exercises like snatches, swings, cleans, I do the Give or Sport technique, even with heavy weights. Because I did thousands of reps. You know, it's and it feels natural.
It feels natural. Oh, that's a great description.
And more comfortable. For example,
and that's a very great description. And you know, for me, and that's where I have, and not a problem. It's not a problem, but I like this, that for you it feels natural, for me too. And what I also see is that a ballistic exercise, when you work, it doesn't matter what kind of weight it is, if it is a 16, 32, or 40, the exercise in and all by itself, a clean and jerk, a jerk, or a snatch, comes from weightlifting, right? It comes from the world of weightlifting with barbells, where these guys move weights that are up to 300% of their body weight, right? The champions. And there is one thing that you have to master if you want to move these weights, and that is moving efficiently under the bar. Otherwise, you won't be able to move these weights. So this is where and I'd like to get your take on this. This is where I have this misunderstanding. Why make the ballistic lifts harder? Where you are applying tension where there's no tension needed.
Exactly. So I also I also trained with IKSFA. Sergey Rudnev.
Rudnev.
Yeah. They also came to after Steve. They came to Ras Al Khaimah. So I did, I think in 2015 and 2016, or 2016, 2017. I forgot. I did level 1 and level 2. The cool thing about Sergey, I think he's 15 years older than me, and he's if you see him, you would advise him man, you need to train, go do something, you have to take care of your health. But he can lift 100 repetitions more than me and heavier weights. I saw him doing with the 228 kilos. Doing jerks. He did, I don't know, it was 5 minutes. He did 50 or 60 repetitions. I'm wow, what is this guy? And he's
crazy.
Yeah, he is crazy. The guy is crazy. And his technique is amazing. And the thing about Give or Sport, it's they don't, how to say it, they don't force you. It's like Olympic lifting. They don't force you to do this technique, because everybody is different. Everyone's different. Everybody is different, and this is how Sergey taught it to me. Like he told me about the guy that he had a certain technique, and he won a certain snatch technique. I forgot his name, and he won the world championship. So lots of people came to this guy to learn the technique from him, but no one did any results.
Uh-huh.
You know, so this technique was specific for this guy's body, you know. So this is what I like about Giveaway sport. And for example, I learned from, what was her name? Didukuna, something like that. She's a Russian world champion.
Svetlana Danilyuk?
No. Another one.
Another one.
Didukuna. Her family name is Didukuna. I forgot her name. Yeah, so when she does the snatch, she swings it to the side, not
Yes. Denisov style, right?
Yeah, Denisov does the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I tried to do this one too. I felt better. I felt much better. Yeah, I could do more reps. And then when I came to Lebanon, I did online training with Igor Morozov. If you know the guy, he's also a world champion. This guy is amazing. This guy is crazy. Like he fixed my technique. I got to learn a lot from him. But it was like I did online training for 3 months. I was recording and sending him my videos, and he would comment and give me feedback. But it was like I was having every Sunday night. I used to get the workout. But every Sunday night, I was so, not excited, but I was afraid. Because it's like with this guy, when I first got in contact with this guy, like the elite people, they don't know how to just work out. Like you need to have a competition. Like the first thing he asked me, when is the competition?
Yeah. They're always in this kind of mode. Either it's pre-competition or post-competition. So what is it?
So I was like, I don't have a competition. Like I'm not gonna, because there's nothing happening in Lebanon or in the Arab world. Like here, they didn't really get interested in kettlebells, and especially giveaway sport. You know, like I'll tell you later. So this guy's workouts were really tough. Really tough. Like he would expect me, for example, he would put a number, okay, do 150 jerks, and I end up doing 80. But then I was thinking, like, is it me or is it him? He was like over expecting. Like, did he think I'm this strong, like to do this number? I used to feel like, how do we say it? Just to give me to feel down, you know, like I failed him. I didn't get the number he was expecting me to get. So it was scary. It was scary, but I learned a lot. From this guy.
So do you think, and that's an interesting point, do you think he was over-expecting, or was he just pushing you to the limit? What was it? Because, I mean, if it's one thing to require your student to do proper technique, but if you come up with a number that is intimidating, you're like, whoa, is that too much? Is that good? What was your experience?
It was like it was a goal for me. Like, okay, if I didn't do it this time, I will try to do it next time. So maybe he was testing me to see how to do the program, how to continue with the program. You know, like, okay, if he can do 150 repetitions, we continue this way. If not, we do something else. Maybe he was testing me. Because like it was impossible for me to reach the numbers he was asking. Sometimes I would reach them, but other times not even close.
So and how did he react when you didn't reach the numbers?
This is the problem with Russians. Like you can't tell if like they don't motivate you.
Ice cold.
They don't motivate you, and you can't tell if he's angry or if he's neutral or if he's happy, you know, and you can't know if he's encouraging you or he's insulting you, you know.
I love this.
Yeah, and you can't, like I learned not to expect anything, and not to expect
That's yeah.
yeah, not to expect his reaction, you know.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, okay, I don't expect any reactions. I don't wait for anything. I don't wait
Yeah.
for motivation.
Yeah.
I just do
You
as
just
he goes.
do.
Yeah.
I think yeah, I think that's it's a culture thing, one thing. And the other thing that I see in this regard is as I'm reading a lot of literature about the Soviet sports systems and how these guys trained. And not just the literature, I'm also I've had conversations with people who are in touch with this system and how it now permeated the whole world because it's so powerful and so interesting. And one thing that you see there probably was back from the Soviet Union days, just this culture is like you just perform.
Yeah.
We don't care if you're happy, if you like it, if you want it or not. You perform for the greater good. So
Yeah.
that's why they're like, I don't have to motivate you, right? What is motivation anyway? Just do it, right?
Yeah.
That's probably part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, this reminds me of a story that happened actually last year. I have a girl who competes for Taekwondo. She's an international champion. Like this week she's going to compete in Macedonia. Next week she's going to Spain. She's a pro.
Cool.
So last year she was in Korea. I think it was the world championship. She told me the Chinese like beat everyone. But then after the competition, was done, the next day, everyone was cheering and having fun, and like, okay, we're done with the competition.
Let's be humans. Yeah.
With all the stress, let's go have fun. Let's go drink Pepsi and junk food and stuff. But the next morning, the Chinese were running in the park. So these people were not having breaks. Like, we are here to beat everyone, and we will continue to beat everyone. We're not gonna be humans. Like the word you said, be a human. They don't want to be a human. They just want to be better than everyone. They want to compete. So I think it's the same thing during the communism
with Soviet Union in the Soviet
yeah,
Union.
in the Soviet Union. Yes.
I think there's two sides to the story. On one side, you can say, "Wow, that's determination, right?" Still jumping back on the fields and then getting ready to perform and do your work. And on the other side, it almost looks like slavery. Like, hey, man. Sometimes you have to take a break, and you have to, right, and it's you don't have to always perform, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's what I had the conversation about the Soviet Union. I mean, in China it's different. You have such a big population. I mean, if you break down, okay, the next guy is already waiting in line. All right, get out of here, right?
100 people.
Yeah, and fascinating thing with the Soviet Union was that they had to perform so well because it was back with the Cold War era, and the Eastern Bloc had to fight against the West, so it was also highly politicized. And these guys had to make the best out of what they had because they don't have that many people in the Soviet Union, at least compared to the United States. That's why they had to perform so well. That's why they came with these great scientific methods. But the way they trained, and that's from a documentary that I watched, it's called Red Army, it was so intense because it was always expected for you to perform. So, and that creates a whole different mindset, right? It's like, hey, I'm just here to do. I don't even know what it means to be normal. I perform and that's it.
Wow. Yeah, but they were ahead of everyone if we're talking about fitness or weightlifting. Like, lots of people got books from what was his name, Yuri Verkhoshansky.
Verkhoshansky, yeah. I'm reading. So I have 3 books of this guy.
Yeah. So because of the of the way Soviet Unions were training their people, their army, and because lots of studies like plyometrics also came from this era.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this was for the good of everyone. Lots of famous trainers learned from these people.
And that leads me to a good question that I had initially when we started. What is the so like the atmosphere of physical culture? What is the atmosphere of physical culture like in Lebanon? Is there a sense of physical training, or do you think it is still far behind?
Um, like when I first gave the first workshop I gave in Lebanon back in 2012, like I always tell, when I give workshops these days, I always tell them this story. Um, when I first gave the kettlebells workshop back in 2012, I had people coming from different backgrounds, mostly aerobic training and bodybuilding. So, and you know, when you first start with kettlebells, you start with the swing, with the kettlebell swing. But back then, I was so happy, like, and excited that I got all the heavy kettlebells. I got the 20 kilos, the 24 kilos, you know, and like when I got the 4 and 8 kilos, I was like, well, maybe someone would use them, but I don't think so. But let's get them, you know. But when we first started, everyone had the 4 kilos and 8 kilos. Like, wow, people, what are you doing? Like, so they disappointed me. So when I first started teaching the swing, I had two trainers who stopped, and they had 4 kilos. They both had one kettlebell 4 kilos. They stopped. They said, no, 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 we're not going to do this one. This one is bad for the back. I didn't say anything. I didn't try to convince them or explain anything. I was like, okay, as you wish.
All right. Yeah.
And they left.
And they
Swinging,
left.
yeah, they left.
Okay.
Swinging 4 kilos. Like, if I see someone holding a 4 kilos at the gym, I would beat them, you know, I would swear at them, like,
What are you doing with 4 kilograms?
4 kilos. And swing, like you would swing your body weight.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
this
Wow.
body weight, 4 kilos. Yeah.
So, and that was the state. Was that a snapshot of the state of physical culture in Lebanon? That
Back then. Yeah.
back
Now,
then, right?
Yeah. Now, because they started, they started evolving. They started, like, you see social media. You see people training on social media, and then CrossFit got famous
Was
at the
big.
same at the same time. In Lebanon, it started, I think, in 2013. 2012? No, I think 2013. They started training CrossFit, and they started opening boxes, like 1 or 2, maybe 3 boxes opened in Lebanon back then, and they started getting famous, and everyone was starting to see opportunity in this business, in the fitness business. So this is when, like, many people started asking for certifications, and then many institutions started opening, and then they teach them personal training, for example, and then they give them additional physical workshops, like kettlebells, like TRX, and other stuff.
Yeah. So it changed, huh?
Yeah, it changed a lot. And but for kettlebells, like now, let's say for giveaway sport is not impressive for someone who doesn't know about giveaway sport. You know, you see the guy standing doing the same exercise for 10 minutes. Okay, what is he doing? Like doing snatch, raising his arm, and you know, so it's not if you know about giveaway sport, you know what the guy is feeling, you know what he's doing, you know how he's thinking, you know everything. But if you don't practice the sport, even if you practice RKC, you don't know, like, what
you don't know what it is. No.
Or you don't know what it is. So and it's hard to introduce it. It's hard, like, you can't teach people, okay, now I taught you how to do swing snatches, let's put 10 minutes on the timer. No.
Unless you want to lose your clients, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Then you can do it.
Yeah, so you start with 1 minute, with 2 minutes, with 3 minutes, and then they have to endure. They have to love the pain. It's not easy, and it's like it's like running a marathon.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
for example, it's not like powerlifting, it's not like Olympic lifting. Because like if you go to the gym, if you have like if you want to do your 1 repetition maximum today, you come, okay, you try it once, twice, it doesn't work, but then you go in this zone, and you know, you stay alone, you put this music, you get hyped, I don't know, you take something, and then you come, boop, you do it. But it's not like that in giver sport. Like, you can't say, oh, I want to do 100 repetition snatches in 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes, I didn't do it. Let's wait another 10 minutes, and then I repeat 10 minutes again. No, you can't. You have to wait maybe for another week. So you can't try. It's like marathon. You can't. You say you want to run the marathon, let's say in 3 hours.
It's not something that you can just try instantly, or hey, let's just give it a shot. No. You have to prepare for it. Yeah. And I mean, you also have to prepare for a 1 rep max with a barbell, right? With heavy weights, but it is not the technique requirement is different, and the effects on the body is way different. I mean, of course, you can hurt yourself with a 1 rep max with a heavy weight, but you see it all the time in a gym that somebody tries a 1 rep max with a deadlift, even with bad technique, but they still try it. But nobody picks the kettlebell and says, hey, let's do 5 minutes and aim for 150 snatches or whatever have you. Yeah.
No. And for sure you can do it with that technique. And like, if you lose your breath, you can't continue.
Yeah, it's
not only about your muscles or about technique. If you have good technique, you don't have gas, you don't know how to breathe, you can go nowhere.
Yeah. You see, you're raising such a good point. That's the reason why I love this idea of being just a general type of practitioner, where you are using these exercises or teach them to your clients because they serve so many benefits. A jerk, a snatch, a long cycle, or just a clean and press, right? And of course, squats and press and get up, they all serve variable purposes. But if you pick up a weight and you do, let's just say 1 minute or 10 reps, clean and press, left side, right side, that the body is challenged in almost every way, in endurance, in strength, in mental toughness, in the heart rate, in your cardiovascular system, the mobility, the flexibility. Your body has to work as a unit, even with 10 reps per side. So that's why I am discarding the idea of competitions, and I don't want to compete, but I see that these exercises give you a lot of return on investment. Yeah. And that's where I see the benefit, right?
Yeah, for sure. I would love to compete, because like when you're competing against someone next to you who's trying to be better than you, and you're trying to be better than him or them, this is where you give your max. Like, it's okay. Like, it's good to compete against the timer. Mm-hmm. It's good to compete against yourself, but when you want to compete against someone else, this is when you raise the bar. Maybe like even for once, I would like to compete even for once. I don't care if I win or if I lose, but it's just to test my limits.
That's a great point. You have to, this athletic type of mindset that you have to have. And with your background coming from martial arts, I mean, you have this background of wanting to compete against somebody else. So I see that most definitely. But, that's why Dennis Vasilev shared this with me. He said, kettlebell sport is a hardcore endeavor. It is fringe. That's why many don't do it. That's why Pavel was so successful with this idea of RKC and Strong First or whatever have you, because he brought it to the masses, and it broke critical mass because he introduced it in a way more easy, more digestible way of understanding. And that's what I credit Pavel for, which I think is awesome. What I now see is that we have potential of doing a similar type of exercise that Pavel did with his idea with the giveaway lifts. A long cycle, you don't have to do it for 10 minutes. Just do 5 reps and see what it does to your body. It's such a great exercise to include it in a workout schedule, right?
It's a crazy exercise.
Yeah, it's a crazy exercise.
The toughest exercise in kettlebell sport.
Yeah, it's the long cycle is a beast on its own.
Yeah.
What I also love about the giveaway lifts is the requirement for technique. How you have to adapt. Every single fiber has to work in harmony with each other. And you have to be not just in the zone, but you also have to be able to course correct any slight miscalculation. You have to automatically detect it and then go back at it again, because you feel if you don't use the proper technique, the kettlebells feel like they weigh a ton. But if you use them properly, it's different, right?
Yeah, it is different. Of course, every single when you you can't do the technique should be it's about everything. Like you can't practice good physical techniques without practicing good breathing technique. You can't practice good breathing technique without practicing how to, for example, when doing snatches, how to relax. You have to relax at the perfect time. If you don't relax at the perfect time, you're tiring yourself, and this will build up with time. When you're doing the snatch, for example, or doing the clean and jerk or whatever, you have to be aware. Like you have to do perfect technique. Perfect technique is perfect physical technique, perfect breathing, perfect body alignment. If you dance, for example, when you want to rest by holding the kettlebell here, or if you're in the long cycle or in the jerk, you're holding the kettlebell here. Like one of the exercises I used to do with Igor Morozov, he used to put me like, okay, hold the kettlebells here on your chest and stay for 5 minutes. Like, man, it was crazy. Like doing nothing for 5 minutes, holding 24 kilos or 20, or even if you hold 8 kilos, it's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Wow. So the rack position, standing still for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it
Go.
was crazy. And sometimes also overhead. Overhead, you stand maximum, you know, holding 2 kettlebells overhead. But that was, the overhead was easier. Why? Because here you have these kettlebells on your chest.
You can't breathe. Yeah.
And every time, like, okay, first of all, you take a couple of small breaths, but this one time you have to take it, you know?
Yeah.
And you cannot do this. Why? Because your elbows would slide. And
then it costs you energy. Yes.
You're using your shoulders muscles, and then they get tight. So these small things, these small tricks, they put you in a different mental state, you know, like who would train? Like I would, if I tell a client to put kettlebells here and stand for 5 minutes, they would ditch me.
Exactly.
They would leave.
Exactly.
Like, what kind of trainer you are? You know?
Yeah, well, you must be crazy. But still, there is value in it. Of course, I mean, your coach was giving you the extreme version because, I mean, first of all, he's Russian. He's a champion, and he was probably thinking in the back of his mind he didn't even have a training program for people who just want to train. It was probably just, listen, this is a competition program. I don't care what you want to do it for. This is how we do it. I don't care if you die along the way. This is how we do it. But there is benefits of racking weights onto your frame, where your body has to endure, first of all, not say the pain, but the pressure of having weights on your body, which creates more denser bones, which tells your mind to stay calm under pressure. There is value. But what we see in giveaway is just always the extreme version. And what I want to incorporate, and that's what I'm asking you, at the same time it's a question, I incorporate these lifts with our clients in a way less extreme way. I call it the minimum effective dose, and they still get a lot of benefit out of it. So my question would be now, how do you implement these exercises with your clients?
Yeah. First of all, it depends on the client. Like you, from experience, you would know which client would go this far and which client would run away from you if you give them the technique. Mm-hmm. So I have a couple of clients who did giveaway sport with me. Some of them still doing, some of them they changed, they traveled. Some of them changed interest. So
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
like sometimes, for example, when I teach someone the clean, like some people don't don't like the pain here. Like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
what's the benefit from this exercise? I tell them, okay, listen, if you do the clean, we can do hundreds of other exercises. Just like you do the right position, you can press, you can do bench press, you can do like you can do lunges. We can do millions of exercises if you just learn how to clean a kettlebell, to put it in the right position. But some people like don't and I have a gym, and it's not only kettlebells. It's everything. It's for fitness. Some people want to train for aesthetics only. They don't care about conditioning. I have some. I'm preparing someone who has an MMA fight also. So these people are different. So I can't teach everyone the same thing. But those who did give or sport with me, they learned good technique, and like they were enjoying it. They would come after I finished. Like we would train after I finished working at 8 p.m. We used to train for like sometimes for 2 hours. They used to come and train with me. Yeah. Nowadays I train around noon. So I stop working from 12 till 4 p.m. At this time, I train, I eat, I take a break. You know?
Yeah, I do
I
that
have,
too. Yeah, same
yeah.
here.
So I have a couple of people who train with me. Sometimes we do give for sport. Sometimes we do like now. I'm doing like I enjoy lifting heavy weights. You know, so it depends on the program I'm following. So sometimes I do give for sport. Sometimes no. But I always like to do like at least 5 minutes, give or sport, snatches or jerk or anything. I always like doing give or sport.
That's similar in my situation. It always draws you back to it to a certain extent. Not the 10-minute stuff, not the competition stuff, but it draws you back of just wanting to lift or just doing the exercise. For example, now tomorrow we always have the same workout schedule on Fridays. We always do jerk, deadlift, and then long cycle with double kettlebells. And now we decided to do, you know what? Now let's just switch the Friday system and do the IKFF level 2. So that's 40 jerks and 100 snatches, a biathlon. Let's just start incorporating this. And I just want to go back at it because it's just so there is something to it that once you have mastered proper technique, of course you want to test your skills, but the other thing is that it gives you so much, it gets so much out of the workout. I mean, of course, let's say you're able to do 40 jerks with double 20s or double 16, doesn't matter, and it takes you 5 minutes. Then you take a little break, and then you do this 100 snatches, right? And it takes you about, let's say, like 8 minutes or 10 minutes. And then in 15 minutes, you have such a great workout.
Of course.
Everything's covered, and you're done, right? And another question: how do you? What is the most prevalent exercise that you teach aside from Girvoy sport? When you pick up kettlebells, what do people, or what is your goal of teaching people most of the time? Let's say on a general basis with kettlebells.
It's like, and the people who come to my gym, it's just another exercise to do it. For example, let's say deadlift. Sometimes do it with the kettlebell. Sometimes do it with dumbbells. Sometimes it's just a different thing. But like nowadays, like now we have Ramadan. We have this month Ramadan. So after Ramadan, I'm preparing a couple of workshops. So there's a workshop I'm giving with someone who gives Olympic lifting, who's an Olympic lifter.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
he thought about it. He told me like, let's do a workshop introducing Giveaway sport and Olympic lifting, which is totally different thing. So I want to see how people accept Giveaway sport. How I don't know, like, because as I told you before, it's not impressive for someone who's just watching. Because I used to, for example, I used to practice capoeira, Brazilian
Oh,
martial art.
wow. Yeah, I saw
Brazilian,
that on your IG. Yeah.
yeah, capoeira is so impressive. Like
Yeah.
you see it,
Glamorous.
people flipping, people
Looks
doing
so
improvised
awesome.
music,
Yeah.
people happy, people clapping their hands.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so this is and let's say between RKC and Give Sport, if you see someone doing a Turkish get-up, for example, there was a fitness like it was a big event, a fitness event. I did the Turkish get-up with a woman, so everyone was like, "Wow, he lifted a woman with one hand." Yeah, but if you do 10 minutes of snatch, Give Sport, it's much more difficult than lifting a woman. But which one is more impressive?
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not glamorous, yeah. And that's
No.
I think that's what sometimes people, especially the athletes or the people who practice Kiravoy sport or the proponents of it, do not understand about it. This is such an important piece of the puzzle. I think it will never be as popular as CrossFit, for example.
No.
Or any other type of sport like capoeira, for example. I mean, and it's also a great description of the different cultures, you know. Brazil, right, at the beach, hey, what's up, yeah, and then Russians like, do it, right?
Yeah.
So that's completely different. It's a great characterization of the different cultures, but it's never, because it's not glamorous, it will never go anywhere, but the lifts in and all by themselves give so much benefit. So that's why I think when you have this workshop, I think what people really need to see is understanding the potential behind the lifts and not the sport itself. It's the same with weightlifting. The Olympic lifts are so complicated and technical, but look at these guys. They are muscular, they are fit, and how funny it is, or what a strange coincidence that we consider a Brian Shaw or a Eddie Hall or a Mountain as strongmen, the strongest men in the world, but we completely forget these 70-kilo Chinese guys who lift 300% of their body weight. So relatively speaking, these are the strongest guys in the world.
Stronger,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Interesting.
I used to practice. I was in love with powerlifting. Now, for example, powerlifting is trending in Lebanon. Like everyone's practicing powerlifting. Everyone wants to compete in powerlifting. I used to practice powerlifting back in 2012, not 2014 maybe, or 2013. So I was in love with the deadlift. I was in love with the bench press and squats. But now, for example, I don't get close to my 1RM. I just want to, okay, if I want to lift heavier kettlebells, I need a strong back. So this is why I do Romanian deadlift, for example. I don't do the deadlift because I don't want to do 1RM. I'm not doing it for the deadlift. I don't want to be good at the deadlift. I want to be good in kettlebells. So you need to. So it's not that I only use kettlebells in my training. No, I use body weight.
Me too.
Barbells,
Yeah.
So sometimes people would ask me like, or you may have heard it somewhere that people who want to sell their product, they say that kettlebells are everything. Like you don't need anything else. No. I don't believe this thing. No, it's not. Or people ask me which one is better, dumbbells or barbells, or dumbbells or kettlebells, or barbells or kettlebells. You can't choose. Like you can still do a whole workout with a barbell, with a dumbbell, with a kettlebell. Your body doesn't know what you're lifting, but your body knows resistance training. Your body knows that there's a resistance coming. It doesn't know if it's gymnastic rings, if it's push-ups, it's bench press, or it doesn't know this. So
Exactly.
It's
a very great point. I think, considering what you were just saying, the kettlebell, I see it the same. The kettlebell has its limitations, of course. what I always like to say is the kettlebell touches all basics of human performance. It touches strength, mobility, flexibility, endurance, mental clarity or mental focus, and it can be healthy for your joints. It can be perfect for your back pain. It can be a minimalist program. You don't, like you said, you have your own gym. You can use 5 minutes and then have an awesome workout. So considering from this perspective, because it does so many things all at once, I would consider for the big part of the population who doesn't do anything, it would be one of the best choices because it gives you a lot of return on your investment. But it's not the best tool, because what sometimes people are saying is, and I have to be careful with this, they say, yes, you can become very strong with kettlebells. And I say, yep, most definitely. But the strongest in the world use barbells. So the barbell, from a technical standpoint, because you can incrementally load it, is still the best tool to become as strong as possible. Doesn't mean that you cannot pick up 5 kettlebells in your hand and create a 300 kilogram deadlift, but it is technically not very smart, right? So that's one thing, but also the barbell is lacking cardiovascular training. You don't have no cardio's in there. And you know what's funny? One time, one of the guys that I had on the podcast said he was talking to an RKC guy, and he said, the RKC guy was getting fascinated with juggling. And I said, oh, that's awesome. Why? And it's a funny answer. He said, because he was lacking his cardio. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Because it makes sense in that regard, because the RKC guys are just the hard style idea doesn't really use the kettlebell as a strength endurance tool, right? But it is, I think it's one of the biggest proponents, or one of the strongest unique selling points of kettlebells is its strength endurance aspect, right? So that was so interesting. So what that shows me is that you can use any tool the way you like. You can use a barbell and do cardio with it, right? If you want to.
Now, for example, as I told you, because I like Olympic lifting, but like I hurt my wrist a long time ago, and I cannot do the clean. I cannot hold the barbell here. So I'm with kettlebells. I never felt any pain in my wrist. So this is the thing. Maybe kettlebells are user friendly more than dumbbells and more than barbells, and I can still get not the same results, but I can still, like if I'm doing the clean with the heavy kettlebell, like for example here I have from 8 kilos till 92 kilos. Kettlebell. So when I'm doing the clean with one arm, I can do the 68 kilos.
Wow.
So it's like, it's not different from doing the clean with a barbell. I'm getting the same, I'm working the same muscle, maybe
exactly
not in the same way,
but
I'm
very similar.
They're very similar. I'm doing explosive training. And what you don't get with the barbell is, for example, when you do a clean with a barbell, you throw it on the floor. When you do a clean with a kettlebell, you have to do a swing and do another repetition. So you don't do this with other equipment. You don't have this
the cyclical nature, right?
You don't have, like, with a barbell for sure you can't. With a dumbbell, it's not that easy to do it.
And it's just exactly. It's just I tell these people all the time when they say, "Well, you can do a dumbbell swing." Well, of course you can, but just because you can doesn't mean you should. First of all, and the second thing is the kettlebell, because of its weight displacement, gives you this cyclical feeling. The dumbbell doesn't, because it's from a biomechanical perspective, it's not built that way.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
the effect is not the same, and your forearm will give out because you're not able to hold on for a heavy dumbbell for very long. But with a kettlebell, you can rack it and then do the cyclical exercises. And that's one of my questions that I have. Since you are training with very heavy kettlebells, I call them monster kettlebells. Anything that's above 48 is a monster kettlebell for me. And what is the benefit that you're getting out of? Because you mentioned one now that, hey, if I do a clean with a kettlebell, it's different than with a barbell, because a barbell I can drop, but the kettlebell I'm kind of forced to do a second rep.
Yeah.
But what are other benefits of heavy kettlebells as opposed to heavy barbells?
The benefits, like, first of all, when Olympic lifters, for example, see me doing, like, I have lots of friends, Olympic lifters friends, they, like, I would like to go and train with them, but I can't, because I cannot do the clean. The snatch is also a bit hard on my wrist. So, sorry, can you repeat the question? I got a bit lost.
I wanted to know the advantages of heavy kettlebells as opposed to heavy barbells.
Yeah. So this is the first thing, because I like to do the Olympic lifts, but I can't do them with the barbell. I do them with a kettlebell. And with the kettlebell, it's, how do we say it? Like, for example, the clean or the swing, you do it, it takes a different path. Like, you're using the same muscles, but in a different way. And small other muscles, like groups of muscles, like they coordinate to do the move. The same thing when you also drop the kettlebell. So you don't have this with Olympic lifting. You have it with kettlebells. You drop it and then you lift it back again. So this is the advantage, that I can do. It's easier to do more reps. And beneficial. Easier doesn't mean not beneficial.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean, or let's put it different. It's simpler to do, but it's not easy to do. Trying to clean a 68 kilogram kettlebell with one hand. I mean, I have ordered kettlebells as well. We have our own line of production as well. It's awesome, and we're expecting 264s because I ordered them as well. I said, hey, I told my supplier, I asked her, I said, do you also do monster kettlebells? And she was like, what is this? I was like, yeah, the Rogue bells. And she said, you mean up to 92 or 98? I said, yeah. She's like, of course we do. I'm like, okay, I gotta get 2 of these heavy ones.
Yeah, but they do it like the competition kettlebells. Like
No. It's cast iron. And she told me we don't do it with the hollow core cast. It's a cast iron bell. But
the heaviest one I've seen was 48.
What again? Pardon me?
The heaviest competition.
Yeah. I think heaviest is 48 exactly. Yeah, the golden one, and then it stops. And from there on, it's cast irons. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw one in UAE. I was like, it's the same shape. This is the cool thing about competition. Like,
exactly.
Different from
the
cast iron. It's the shape and how, like, the technique doesn't change. Like, I always show people when I'm giving a workshop, if all the kettlebells had the same color, you wouldn't know that I'm lifting 8 kilos or 40 kilos. The technique is the same. This is the cool thing about competition kettlebells.
And another cool thing that I discovered, and that's why we went with hollow core, with the kettlebells who are not filled. The cast in itself is that heavy. Yeah, you got one too. I think the feeling with these kettlebells is just different because the weight displacement sits closer to the handle. The weight is not filled. You're moving the weight in and all by itself as a cast and not as a filled object. The ballistics feel completely different. I'm so in love with these hollow cores that I exclusively want to train with them. We have a workshop coming up in 3 weeks, and I told them, listen, if you want me to qualify you guys, I'm coming with my own kettlebells. They said, well, we have our kettlebells. I said, no. I'm gonna certify you guys with our own. So it's 15 people. So I said, I have to know the gender, right? Man or female, male or female. So I know what kind of kettlebells I have to pick up. But hey, forget it. I'm not teaching you kettlebells if it's not the Rolls Royce. If we don't use the Rolls Royce, forget it. Yeah.
Yeah, so a funny story when I wanted to get competition kettlebells. The first one I got from China were cast iron. So there was a guy here, a supplier, who I asked him to buy kettlebells. So I told him I want one set of hollowed kettlebells.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, one set is one kettlebell of each weight. For me, one set means two kettlebells. So
Yeah, of course.
when he got the shipment to Lebanon, so he told me, yeah, I got your kettlebells, come see them. I went there. Okay, where are my kettlebells? He said, where's the set? He said, this is the set. You asked for one set. I told him, man, one set is two kettlebells, not like I should have told him,
So you got 8, 12, 16, 20, 24?
no. What, like, I wanted two similar kettlebells. I didn't want to buy like a set of kettlebells, one hollowed and one not. So
No,
so I asked him like, okay, do you have two sets from the other Chinese kettlebells? He said yes. I bought the other, but the hollowed ones, another gym bought them, and man, they don't train with kettlebells. They were like they were using them like they would tie a battling rope, started pulling the kettlebell, drag them on the floor. I was like, man,
Oh God, no.
forgive them, God. They don't
Yeah,
know what they're
they don't know
doing.
what they're doing. It hurts. Yes.
I was
Fascinating.
so upset.
Yeah,
But
I see that.
when I came to the gym to open my kettlebells, they were all in the same box. So the first one I opened was a hollow.
Awesome.
I was like, wow. It was 24 kilos. I was like, wow, I got maybe the guy didn't know that he gave me the hollowed one. So I opened the whole boxes. I was so excited. It was the only one.
At least one. At least one. That's
Yeah,
good.
but it was the first one,
It was the
I got
first one, and then
excited.
it went downhill from there.
Yeah.
Awesome. So another question that I want to ask you before we finish, Yani, is because you were into powerlifting. Sometimes we hear, and I've experienced this as well. If we continuously lift heavy weights, the tissues or the body breaks down. So, what was your experience with powerlifting? And did you feel that, hey, I have to stop, or did you stop because you wanted to, or did you stop because something hurts or something was painful, or what is your take on really heavy lifting?
Okay. So the difference between powerlifting, I was lifting very heavy weights, and now, for example, I'm also lifting very heavy weights with kettlebells, but back in powerlifting, like I always say this: when you take your body to the maximum, when you're doing strength training close to your 1RM, this is the good thing about ballistic training. It's different than strength training. When you're always doing strength training, which is powerlifting, and you're always close to your 1RM, you live in pain. Not everyone says that, but you get muscles imbalances because one arm is stronger than the other, one leg is stronger than the other. You get imbalances, you get pain, you get to live in pain. And I was living in pain, but we always say that this is part of the game. Pain is part of the game. So I don't care about pain because I'm not going to stop powerlifting. But one time I injured my back doing deadlift, and I had to take a long break. And then I lost interest. It's not that, okay, I hurt my back with deadlift, I want to come back and do it again. But no, I lost interest, and I got back to kettlebells, and I was more interested in kettlebells. And that's it. This is how I stopped powerlifting. And I would say, for example, if I go back in time, I would stick to kettlebells. I wouldn't have done powerlifting.
And would you now that you're still, I mean, you're still lifting heavy weights, but ballistically, right, or cyclically rather, not the one rep max style, but still heavy kettlebells.
Yeah.
How was your experience in that regard with comparing it to this pain situation with powerlifting? How is it now when you lift these heavy weights with kettlebells?
No, I don't feel, like I don't have injuries. I don't feel pain at all. On the contrary, I feel much stronger, more powerful. Like every Saturday, I practice. For example, the program I do every Wednesday. I go jogging. I don't do sprints. Every Saturday, I do sprints. Sometimes long sprints, 500 meters to 400 meters, 50 meters sometimes. So it depends on the program. And I can like for, let's say, when you're doing deadlift, if you're doing 1RM, if you're not on steroids or you don't take any substances, you have, sometimes you have to rest for 7 or 10 days. You know, you have to take a recovery when you do 1RM, which is like it feels like you break it or it breaks you. You know, sometimes you have to take a long break to recover. In kettlebells, it's not the same. And for example, with kettlebells, what I do, sometimes, let's say I didn't get enough sleep, so I do the same workout, everything is the same, but with less weights. But I don't stop.
Yeah.
In powerlifting, it's hard to do the same. Like you're supposed to do. This is how I injured myself. Like
you're supposed to go heavier or supposed to do more, right? You're supposed to.
Yeah. It feels wrong. It is wrong, but it also feels like you have to recover and you have to use less weight when you're recovering. But on that particular day when I injured myself, everything was was supposed to go as written, but I didn't get enough sleep. And when I was warming up, when I was warming up, my weights were lesser than usual. And I felt like
you already felt it, right? Yeah.
I already felt it. But then you know, no, I have to lift.
I have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I injured my back.
Yeah, but see, it's also a little bit that mindset that permeates social media. It's always like, hey, you got to go balls to the walls. Always this no pain, no gain mentality, where you have to go all in. Doesn't matter how you feel. And at the same time, I think it's way better. It's not a sexy message, but it's way better to fine tune and listen to your body, see how it feels. And just, I had a similar experience last week. I was or not 2 weeks ago, I was always on Friday, like I mentioned, we do the jerk, the deadlift, and the long cycle. And I always start with 24s, double 24s, because I'm now slowly working my way up to the 32s. Not fast. I'm not going in fast rep. It's just 1 minute. But I just recently, I'm really proud that I recently just made it. Just a jerk 1 minute and long cycle 1 minute with double 32s. I was really happy. And now I'm always like, aiming towards a little bit, because like, my body's able to handle it, so that's where I want to stay. So 24 is the minimum and 32 is the maximum. And then always, most of the time, the workout then is, the first set is 24s, second set is 28s, and the last set is 32. But just 2 weeks ago, I picked the 24s up and I immediately felt, didn't get enough sleep. I immediately felt it. I was like, forget it.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. And then 1 week later, getting enough sleep, boom, back at it with the 28s. It's so important to listen.
Yeah. And I learned it with time. You know, like I'm not young anymore. For example, if I was in my 20s, if I get injured, okay, you rest for maybe a couple of days or 1 week maximum, and you're back to training and lifting your max. But now at 43, no, an injury stays with you for a while, you know, for a couple of months. So this is why like when I feel I didn't get sleep or anything, no, it's not the end of the world. I'll do it next week, in 2 weeks. It's okay.
Exactly. So you have to really not only fine tune and listen to your body, but also understand where you are in life, right? If something happens at 43, it's just different than when it hits you at 20, right? Because you regenerate much more faster, which doesn't mean that you're not on very thin ice of getting a solid injury even at 20, but you don't really feel it. But as soon as you get a little bit older, you have to listen, man. It's that's what it is. So hey, Yadi, that was really awesome talking to you. I think I really love having these conversations with people from all around the world and just seeing that there is this similar pattern for completely different people discovering this one tool and then moving anything or just doing anything doing what it takes to bring it and import it into your own country. And now you still produce them on your own, or did you stop the production?
No, I stopped that because it was hard work, because the blacksmith used to give it to me as it is, and I have to sand it and I have to paint it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was hard work.
That's hard work. Yes.
Yeah, now it's easier. Like you have these big companies bringing kettlebells, and I just give workshops and teach trainers how to use them. Yeah, it's better this way.
Most definitely. And finally, what do you think? Did the world of kettlebells in the Middle East, where is it compared to the West?
Yeah, compared to the West, I still have people, I still have trainers in my workshops who haven't touched kettlebells before, and I see it like it's something, maybe, for example, now they're getting to know a bit more about kettlebells because of SFG. They're giving, because they give workshops in the Middle East, and they also come to Lebanon. There's a gym here who's affiliated with them, and they come and give workshops, which is very good. But now this is my goal, because the MENA region, like Middle East and Northern Africa, you have more than 20 countries that speak the same language, which is Arabic. So this is what I was talking with Steve last week. It was about to go there and spread the kettlebell word, and teach about kettlebells and gear for sport. I know Svetlana was in Egypt.
Yeah, in Cairo.
Yeah, in Cairo about maybe a couple of months ago.
Yes.
A year ago, I think.
Yeah, I think last year she was there.
Yeah, last year. Yeah, I talked to her back then, and I wanted to go there, but it wasn't easy during Corona time to
almost
travel, especially in Lebanon.
And it just goes to show that there's still so much work to be done when it comes to just spreading.
It's not that famous.
It's not that, and even here in Switzerland, it's the same. You have a lot of people. Yes, or coaches and trainers, they have heard of kettlebells, but I mean, it's one thing. Having a person who has never heard of a kettlebell is one thing, but you have people who have heard of kettlebells but never touched them before, and they still don't know, or they don't know how a kettlebell works. I mean, and that's something that we have to realize. I mean, in the 2000s, 2001 or 2002, somewhere around there was when the revolution of the RKC stuff happened and everybody jumped into kettlebells. Then CrossFit happens a couple of years, 10 years later, which popularizes the kettlebells even further. Then we have 2020, the pandemic, who popularized the kettlebell. But it's still a tool that has so much potential to be taken around the world. So, yeah, you have a job to do, Yani, most definitely.
There is a Swiss girl who came to Lebanon. She came to attend a wedding. She came for like 3 days. Yeah, she come. I don't know which year it was. 2015, 16. I don't know. So she texted me. She wanted to. She came with her friend to attend another friend's wedding. So they used to practice CrossFit, and they came to my gym, and I introduced her to kettlebells. Awesome. And now she's always juggling kettlebells. I see her Instagram account.
What's her name? What's her name?
Tanya.
And last name?
George, I think. Tanya George.
I think I've seen a Swiss girl juggling kettlebells. Yeah.
Yeah, she's always juggling kettlebells. So she's all about kettlebells now.
I think I somewhere in the back of my mind, I think I know who she is, but I have to check the IG.
I'll send you. I'll send you.
Yeah, you have to send it to me. Yeah, you have to send it to me. And see, it's beautiful how this world is connected. How everything, it's so small, but still it goes around the world. It spans around the world. And what I feel a little bit is that this idea of melting, because you are another proof, because you have been taught by Steve Cotter, you are another proof that combining the heavy lifts, get up, squat, lunge, press, the grinds, with giveaway type ballistics works so well that this is this hybrid idea that I'm talking about all the time. And yeah, that is awesome. It's awesome, Yani.
Yeah.
So
there is a guy in Lebanon who does juggling, and now, for example, he was telling me that now in giveaway sport they're doing Turkish get-ups and juggling and stuff. I don't know which federation is this. Maybe they introduced these things to get more people. But they're doing stuff like this. It was like, I didn't know about this, but he told me that they're using juggling and Turkish get-ups. Like, how many Turkish get-up can you do in 5 minutes? Or,
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I still don't know about this, but I remember that he told me about this.
Interesting. I mean, one thing that we also know is that juggling, they have this division of kettlebell juggling. It has nothing to do with giveaway, but you have this Russian types. But as it is, also have this freestyle. You have seen this probably as well on social media. You have this freestyle type of juggling, which I've had practitioners of this type of style. I've had them on the podcast as well. And they practice a completely different type of juggling where you really throw the kettlebells around the head. It's almost borderline dangerous what they do, or crazy.
Really.
But you see how the world is just developing on just the kettlebell and its potential use is developing. And one thing that's a final thought that crosses my mind that you have mentioned, you said that the giveaway guys were teaching you, hey, you have to find your own style, right?
Yeah.
And how was your experience with the RKC in China? Was it different? Was it like, hey, that's how you're supposed to do it?
I don't quite remember. But maybe I don't quite remember. I don't remember. It was like because it was something new for me, and I was accepting anything.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And I think that's a good thing, right? Accepting the idea and say that's how it's supposed to be done. Of course it is. But what I always use is this idea that you have the exposed or the imposed way of teaching. Imposed means this is how you're supposed to do it, and exposed means we're highlighting flaws, and then we teach you the technique, and then you discover your own path. And I think both ideas work. But the reason why I'm saying this is because you have the hard style guys. The tendency is that they on the comments and everywhere, or just this, let's say like this type of crowd. I'm not saying that they're hard style certified, but I'm just saying this type of crowd is coming along and saying, this is not how you're supposed to do a swing. This is wrong, right? Yeah. And the giveaway is a little bit more open, but still there you have it as well, right? Where people tell, that's not how you're supposed to do a snatch. That's how you're supposed to, or whatever have you. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. So, hey, Yani, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time. Thanks.
Awesome. It was really nice meeting you. Now I have a friend in Lebanon who is the.
You're welcome anytime.
Also, you're welcome too in Switzerland, man. So here's the next step that you have to do: like the video, consider subscribing, share it with a friend who's also interested in kettlebells, and then go watch this playlist where you have all the powerful conversations that I have had with the greatest minds in the kettlebell world. If you enjoyed this podcast, you're gonna enjoy these other ones as well. So go click on it and watch it right now.